A snake handsome man. Once upon a time, there was a house without children in a village. My older daughter-in-law wanted to have children, so she climbed the mountain behind her every morning and started praying to heaven. God, please let me have children. On the night of the 100th day of prayer, the mountain spirit appeared in my daughter-in-law's dream and said, "There will be a crucian carp floating in the mineral spring water, so bring it and boil it down." The next day, as soon as my daughter-in-law opened her eyes, I went to the mineral spring and found a crucian carp swimming vigorously. The daughter-in-law who decocted the crucian carp finally had children. The whole family waited for the child with joy. But 10 months later, what my daughter-in-law gave birth to was not a person, but a large snake.
Oh my God! What's going on? A person gave birth to a snake.
Surprised, the daughter-in-law couldn't even tell her around, and she built a hut in the mountain behind her and secretly started raising serpents. The snake grew up as big as a human and became good at speaking. Then one day, the snake said,
"Mom, I'm getting married."
Oh, man. How can you get married when you're born a snake?
The mother was startled and stopped her son. But to grant his precious son's wish, she carefully asked the grandmother downstairs, "Why don't you marry her grandmother's daughter?" But the grandmother, who knew her son's identity, was angry, saying, "Never." Then the daughter-in-law began to beg the grandmother's 3 daughters once in a while, asking if they could ask them. Eventually, my grandmother called her 3 daughters and asked if she would marry a snake. Then the first and second daughters waved their hands and said,
I don't. How can I marry a disgusting and scary snake in the world?
But the third daughter's response was different. "Then I'll marry a snake." He even laughed. On the wedding day of the serpent and his third daughter, all the villagers saw the ugly serpent and whispered that they felt sorry for his third daughter. But 3 days after marriage, the snake's skin is gradually peeled off and transformed into a handsome man, right? When my third daughter asked me what happened, the sergeant replied, "I was originally a man who lived in heaven, but I was so guilty that I was cut down like this." The sisters of their third daughter, who saw the snake that became a handsome man, said,
Oh, I should have married, he lamented. The snake, who became Sinsiambi, told his third daughter,
"We are made in heaven,"
and said, "Well, I'm going to do that." Since then, Sinsiombi and her third daughter have lived happily ever after.